Alright guys, welcome back into another video. Today we're hitting a chest, delts and triceps workout. Right now we're in beautiful Bali, Indonesia, in Canggu at a place called Superfoods. Really nice spot, they have super organic food. I always say that we have to sandwich our workouts between a high carb and high protein meal. Bali has a crazy supply of good fit food, nice cafes, nice restaurants, especially Canggu, which is where we are at right now. So we're gonna get that pre-workout meal in and then we're gonna hit off at the gym. Here's our pre-workout meal. Looking perfect. There was supposed to be avocado in this, but avocado is high fat and I don't want to have high fat pre-workout, especially considering we're going to be hitting it right after. Fat decreases your speed of digestion and I want to have this into my bloodstream, into the muscle as fast as possible, circulating. So we're going with like a typical chicken and rice meal, obviously, and then after we'll have something else. But yeah, so this is what we're going to be going with today. If this doesn't look like fit food, then I don't know what does. Alright, so we just finished our pre-workout meal. Another reason why I really like this place is because I want the vast majority of my food intake to be clean, unprocessed, organic food, and this is exactly what this place has to offer. One of the reasons being, next to getting better results obviously, because with unprocessed food, 20% of the caloric value of that food is going to be burned in the digestion process, and processed food doesn't have that. So basically you can eat like approximately 20% more food when you're eating unprocessed versus the processed stuff. All right, next to just getting better results overall, so that's why we just went with this solid meal. And now we just wait a little bit, we chill a little bit. It's Sunday, gotta relax a little bit as well in beautiful Canggu. About 45 minutes until we head to the gym. That would be perfect meal timing and then we go smash it. Let's take a look at the menu. Superfood, Canggu, health restaurant. And then once we open up, it says what is superfood, a whole bunch of yada yada yada, why it's so important for them to have organic food and being transparent. And then you see all of these stuff. Our food comes in an array of dietary needs: vegetarian, vegan, raw, keto, paleo. Honestly, these keto and paleo stuff you don't really need because they cut out certain nutrients. And reason being is every nutrient has a function in the body. So carbs has a function, fat has a function, protein has a function. So all of those have a time and place. So the function of fat is it regulates all the functions of the body. So your organs work properly, your brain functions properly, and also your hormone levels. And that one is very important because we want to have the highest amount of testosterone, because the higher your testosterone levels are, the more muscle mass you'll be able to put on. So fat is very important. Protein, we all know what that does. It's the building block of our body. It repairs all the cells, including muscle tissue, anything that would ever break down. And with carbs, the primary function of carbs is to provide energy. So we want to have carbs. We can perform optimally in the gym. All right. And by doing so, we also leave protein and fats to doing what it does best. Nothing can take over the functionality of fats. Only fat can do what fat does. Only protein can do what proteins do. However, proteins and fats can take over to some extent the function of carbs, which is providing energy, and calories in general are energy, right? But still, carbs can go into the muscle and can be burned as a glycogen in a certain way that fats can do. So ideally we do want to hit those carbs and use that as energy, so proteins and fats can play their own role, right? So all of these things, keto, paleo, fats, protein, carbs, they all have their function. All of these things are just a means, a way to get into a calorie deficit, to eat less, right? But you can still eat it in calorie deficit while eating fats, proteins and carbs, right? So calorie balance is number one, not certain macronutrients. And what these people kind of do, they flip it upside down and they say, okay, carbs is bad. No, it's not bad. It has a function, right? Just like everything else does. You just need to get your caloric intake the way it should be. All right, the first exercise we're going to be doing today is a dumbbell power fly. It's a bit different than a regular dumbbell press. The reason why I am doing this one is because my triceps and delts tend to take over a lot during pressing movements. So what happens is, with a regular pressing movement, there's a lot of elbow bending. So that's basically flexion and extension of the elbow. So there's a lot of tricep involvement and they take over a lot of the movement. So I'm not utilizing my chest as much as I would like to. Whereas with this one, with a power fly, instead of pushing my elbow down and forward, I'm pushing it to the side and bring my bicep back to the middle. So I'm still lengthening the chest, but I'm not as much lengthening the tricep. So relatively more of the load is put on the chest. There's literally nothing else that can bring the weight back other than my chest muscles. So this is already a reason why I have some specific programming and why that is important, because everyone's body is different and we have our strong points and our weaknesses within our physique and within exercise selection and execution. So it's important to program something that's tailored around you. So if I want to improve my chest, I need to do more of these type of things. All right, one thing you'll see me do as well, I hold the dumbbell all the way against the top, not in the middle. If I hold it in the middle, my wrist isn't going to be positioned in the middle, right? So I'm gonna have to unnecessarily stabilize it more. I want to prevent that, so I'm just gonna put my hands against the top, so my wrist is in the middle, and then good tempo, focus on bringing the biceps together on the way up. Keeping my shoulders pushed down and backwards to prevent shoulder engagement, right? With the dumbbell press, again, it's important to push your shoulders down and pin them a bit backwards. So you create a bit of an arch. Not too much, because then you're just going to reduce a lot of range of motion, but just a slight little bit. Because a lot of people, what they do is when they start doing pressing movements, whether it be bench press, dumbbell press, anything they want to hit chest on, is they already start with their shoulders in like this protracted, forward rotated position. Then they start to press, and the only thing they're hitting is their front delt. So like, my chest is not even engaged. Everything is here. Here's where it's tight. This isn't. So I want to push my shoulders down, right? You see already, my chest is already engaging. It's already hard, simply by doing that. And I don't want to move down into a 90-degree angle, but a 45-degree one. A lot less shoulder involvement, much more healthy as well. So shoulders down, slightly retracted, 45-degree angle down, and push the biceps together on the way up. Breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth. Get quickly back into a rested state. Normally I always have my AirPods in. Always focused, training by myself. I don't go in with a gym buddy. It's just gonna be a lot of chit-chatting, not being focused at all. Make sure you have a concrete plan tailored around you. Like for example, this exercise specifically programmed for me because I tend to use a lot of my triceps. They're still overdeveloped. So this one's much better for me than a regular press, right? So I have a concrete plan. I know exactly what I'm going to be doing. A lot of people say I want to be the best version of myself, but then they're half-assing everything they do. When you're in the gym, you're in the gym. You're not on your phone, you're not scrolling, swiping. The only moment you're allowed to be on your phone while training is when you log your workouts, because you want to collect data. Data is key. If you do things based on emotions, you're gambling. When you're gambling, you're going to lose. If you have the data and make decisions based on data, then you're making the right decisions. Progress you want to see in data. If it's not there, then you can backtrack where it's going wrong, where you need to adjust to see that progress. Most people want to be the best version of themselves. They half-ass everything. You're gonna get half results in everything you do. If you're in the gym, you're in the gym, you're training. If you're with your friends, with your girlfriend, you're there 100%. When you're working, you're 100% there. Becoming the best version of yourself starts with putting in your best effort in everything you do. Again, optimization is becoming more efficient. More efficient, more efficiency is emphasizing output within less input, right? Optimization is more output and less input. So I'm getting more out of what I'm doing, which allows me to get more results in less time. So tomorrow I can spend more time at the beach, for example, here in beautiful Bali, and working on my clients instead of having to spend more time in the gym with less results. It's not that smart, right? Let's go. Another thing you want to focus on with pressing movements is always creating maximum amount of stability. So that means that at the top, we want to breathe in as much air as we can, engage our core, and hold that breath during the whole repetition. And also constantly push backwards through the legs. Not cheat like a powerlifter, like put them like that, big ass arch. Constantly like leg drive and kind of move the weight with the legs, but place the legs more forward and push backwards. So you create upper back stability that allows you to generate more output in the pressing part of the movement. So you get more out of your chest. You use all the other body parts to create stability for the muscle that you're trying to hit, instead of help it to move the weight from A to B. Very big difference. Second chest exercise we're going to be doing today is going to be a bench supported cable press, because I want to improve the lower area, the lower line of my chest is an area that can have some improvement. I'm using this one supported with a bench because if I'm going to do a flying variation, for example, or just any variation with cables without the supported bench, then the weight that I am using is going to want to push me backwards. So that's going to limit my ability to perform and limit my output, right? So stability always has to be there. Stability cannot be a limiting factor within the exercise. So the weight would otherwise want to push me backwards when I want to move the weight forward. So it's counterintuitive. So I want that stability so I can generate the max amount of output. Another thing, I'm not using a flying variation, but a pressing variation, simply because I want to stick to a specific exercise for a certain period of time and progressively overload in it. And if I'm going to use a flying variation, it's going to limit my progressively overloading potential, because it's harder to increase weight and loading capacity when I'm using weight that's far away from my center point of gravity, right? So I want something that's easier to overload over time. And pressing variations are much better than that. So that's why I'm using this one. Max stability, good loading potential, targeted specifically for my weaknesses. So basically I'm looking, okay, what part of my physique do I want to develop better? How do those muscle fibers run? How do they align with my body? And then basically I want to have a load or a weight running exactly in the direction of which those fibers are running, right? So that's why this one is a very good one. Let's go. Push one down. Second. Nice, very good. We're going with 3 sets on these of a rep range between 15 to 18 reps, simply because I want to emphasize focus on quality, right? The goal is to load the muscle and stimulate it the correct way. The goal is not to move as much weight. The goal is not the exercise. The goal is to stimulate the muscle, and the exercise is only a tool to do that. Muscle grows between 3 to 40 reps, not like 6 to 8 is strength, 8 to 12 is mass building, 12 plus is endurance. Not true. There are times and places for each and every one of them, and which one you should use for which exercise depends on various factors involving your unique situation, level of advancement, liabilities, so much things that go into it. Last exercise we're going to be doing today is an incline machine press. One thing a lot of people do wrong with this one, with any form of presses, same as with the first exercise, is they internally rotate a lot of their shoulders and they just like press constantly through their shoulders. When you want to pin your shoulder blades back, retract them a little bit and then move in a 45-degree angle relative to your body. So most people move here 90 degrees, but that engages a lot of shoulders and puts a lot of stress on it. Here it's much less, right? Much more better movement pattern for the chest, less shoulder involvement, can get more range of motion, easier to put the biceps together. It's much better. So you can do that on this machine either by having this neutral grip, or you can also take this wide one, but then support it to flare the elbows inside, right? As well, feet firm in the floor, push backwards constantly. All right, as well, 3 sets on these, bit of a lower rep range for me, but again, it matters most on what fits best for you. Okay, let's go. If you don't have access to that last chest machine, what you could do instead is you could use dumbbells. It's very important that your elbow just moves in a 45-degree angle and that you move from fully extended to fully shortened position of the muscle. So the weight has to go a bit out to the side and back inside. Not like a barbell press that just goes straight up and down. It needs to move like this if your goal is to prioritize muscle building over strength. Right? With muscle building, you want to get stronger weekly and bigger weekly, so you get both. Whereas with only strength building, you just will get stronger weekly, but you won't necessarily get bigger weekly. Now, if you ask me, I would always take 2 for the price of 1 instead of 1. I don't really care if I'm going to be moving 180 kg on bench press or 50 kg on dumbbell presses. If my chest is going to be bigger in the second scenario, then I'll just take that one. And actually, to confirm that, when I benched 180 kg, my chest was smaller than when I benched 120, right? Because I would just lift more technically like a power lifter, but as a result I used less of the muscle building principles, so my chest just got smaller. I was just moving the weight instead of properly stimulating the muscle from an optimal point of view, right? So my goal was the exercise to move as much weight instead of loading the muscle.